We have to talk about this, but this is going to be a very controversial video. It's not going to make me any friends. It's going to upset a lot of sim racers. It's also a bit boring. It's very boring, so sorry about that, but this has to be said and done. Remember to subscribe though, so you can unsubscribe, and I think this will probably get a record of unsubscribers. So, the reality of sim racing hardware and what I would describe as the sim racing hardware elephant in the room. The elephant is so big there's no room in the room anymore. That's how big the elephant is. The elephant is that your hardware cannot magically fix your software. If you have a racing simulator with fundamental physics issues and fundamental force feedback issues, or God knows what going on with that simulator, it doesn't matter what direct drive wheel or motion rig settings or whatever you throw at it, you're going to be beholden to the reality of that racing simulator software. I'm going to do it. I've got to mention it. It doesn't matter if you've got a £3,000 brand new direct drive wheel. If you are using that to play iRacing, the cars are not going to magically behave realistically at the limit. Even if you're using telemetry driven force feedback, even if you're using Mirror, Marvin's awesome iRacing app, which can really describe, really detailed, what's going on with the cars. And don't get me wrong, like the SimuCube 3, new DD wheels, Marvin's awesome iRacing app, the force feedback and how you can tweak it, great, it's fantastic. You can really feel a good range of forces, but all you'll end up doing is describing through the force feedback and through that hardware equipment what is wrong with iRacing and the fact that you have to drive preemptively and you can't actually drive naturally in that sim. The hardware is not fixing the software. It just emphasises the reality of what the software is. It makes the software more clear, but it really doesn't fix things. I've got to be fair, I know we're a bit critical of iRacing, and the reason I'm more critical of iRacing than some other sims is I have 3,000 hours in it over the last 2 years. I enjoy playing it online. It's the most popular sim, it's the most active sim, and it's like 300 years old. So, I think it's fair to really point these things out until they bloody fix them. But, in fairness, you've got the curbing issue in AC1 on the throttle with lots of cars. LMU has super dull handling. I enjoy it. It's a really good video game, good simulator, great fun, but super dull handling and force feedback in the game at low speed. Race Room has really dull force feedback. On the non-driving sim side of things, Microsoft Flight Simulator, a lot of the planes in that are super weird to fly, and the force feedback is weird as well. We use a AB9 force feedback joystick. The force feedback joystick is incredible. AB9 force feedback joystick is better than my Brunner, which cost up $1,500. But the AB9 joystick could not magically fix Microsoft Flight Sim's physics with the planes in that simulator. Don't get me, I love gliders, it's fantastic. I have a lot of fun with these things. But the reality is that hardware and force feedback settings and devices simply cannot fix fundamental software issues. To tiresomely bring the point home, those of you that haven't already got it, I'm sorry guys for being so boring. Imagine you had a £100,000 hi-fi. If you play White Noise or Taylor Swift on that hi-fi, it will be White Noise or Taylor Swift, right? It doesn't matter that you spent £100,000 on a hi-fi. You need to put good music on it, like some proper banging German techno, which is obviously highly regarded for being the sonically best music in the world. But you've got to put some good music on it for it to sound good, like maybe really well recorded classical music or properly EQ'd stuff. Then you'll be able to use more of the dynamics for it to really make a difference. But if you're playing White Noise on it, White Noise is going to come out garbage in, garbage out. That's exactly what it's like with the software, the sim software, and with the sim hardware. Going along with the hi-fi analogy, you might have noticed, if you've got like good headphones, these are Sennheiser 595s, have some 599s, or if you've just got a hi-fi that's like let's say you spent £1,000 on a hi-fi, or even like £500-600, you know, a reasonable sum of money on a modern hi-fi, what you're going to notice very quickly is you get to a point of diminishing returns for how much better it actually makes your music sound. And that is another thing that you really see with sim racing with these direct drive wheels and a lot of this equipment. The fact is, there's a limit to how much the hardware can accentuate the reality of the software. And when it comes to like hard sim racing hardware, force feedback wheels, basically up until the point where we had the first sort of OSWs, it was certainly the case that like the difference between a Momo Black, a Microsoft Sidewinder, T300, T500, CSL, the early belt-driven wheels, the differences between those wheels were huge, and all of those wheels really drastically affect the nature of the simulator. The wheels themselves were actually getting in the way of what the simulator was putting out. Like if you had a really crappy hi-fi, tinny headphones, it really would get in the way of a song that has good bass to it and highs, lows, singing and everything. Your crappy headphones would basically ruin the listening experience, right? And that's what that equipment, though it worked, you could sim race with it, and it was great fun, it really would shape and colour how you could experience the sims. I almost gave up sim racing trying to play R Factor 1 and Richard Burns Rally on the Momo Black wheel, because it's so hard to like rotate quickly. It was terrible. But by the time you got to the OSWs, like the Small Mage, which came out over 10 years ago now, you're at a point where it's like you've got a £2,000-4,000 hi-fi. It can really tell you what's coming out of the simulator very, very clearly. Rotates 200 RPM, rotates incredibly quickly. It's categorically letting you feel what the sim's putting out, right? And that was 10 years ago. It was 10 years ago. And yet, we're at a point now where you keep seeing these new direct drive wheels come out, and the companies are like, well, guys, we've got the new Bibbidi Bob Newton-meter feature. We've got the vibrator force, the true full banana force. We've got this new API tie-in. We've got all this new stuff, and it's totally better than the previous wheel, which we said was perfectly fine and the best wheel ever, which was also itself better than the wheel before that, which was actually totally fine and really good, and which was better than the wheel before that was really... It's like, you know... I'm not saying that things can't improve and that there aren't improvements made and that the people making this hardware don't do a bloody good and hard job on it, but it's that curve of diminishing returns. And for DD wheels, I'm afraid to say, for a long time now, we're in the like tiny fraction at the top. We're in the carbon fibre hockey stick zone of diminishing returns. And what really needs to improve is the fundamental racing simulator software, the way the tyres behave at the limit. In iRacing, the balancing of the cars in slip and making that natural would be 100 times more important than anything you could do with force feedback, right? The underlying driving is what needs to be sorted out more than the force feedback. And even separate to that is stuff like online ranking systems and the sort of holistic picture, not this one tiny fractional thing. We had a good conversation with Niels Houseeveld about this. Check out that video, we just witter on in a park. But this is a very similar problem where you can't blame engineers for going deep dive into their competency and them trying to push the boundaries of what they're doing. It's their job, it's what they're supposed to be doing. But from a consumer perspective, it's got to a very absurd point. Now again, to be clear, because oh my god, I know I'm going to get comments on this, I'm not saying that there aren't quite valid subtle differences between different wheels and new technologies, and some people might enjoy that. Just look at audiophiles. They will sit there with their tube amp, God knows what, and their little things and whatever, and they will be rubbing butter over themselves, going, "Oh, I can hear 3 hertz more than my previous hi-fi," whilst they're listening to terrible music. But look, I get that. You might like that. I'm not knocking that. Good for you for enjoying what you enjoy. I do think audiophiles are terrible people. They're worse than furries, let's be honest. But there are differences between the wheels, and definitely worth saying, I do think, and this is probably a separate video we'll do, I do think that telemetry based force feedback and what that can allow you to do, that is something that all DD wheels should be pushing towards now, rather than the motor technology being tweaked to a tiniest degree. The actual software on the direct drive wheels and being able to do more advanced telemetry stuff, like maybe understeer type effects that feed into the overall force feedback, or like seat of the pants rotational stuff that can be fed in, or just higher frequency stuff that can get around some issues with some simulators. That's really good, and you do see that from like VNM, AccuForce, SimuCube. So that's great. I think that's a good direction for them to go in. That's more the software side of the force feedback than the hardware side of the force feedback. Still, that is still going to be dependent though on the actual racing simulators and the actual physics of the simulator. One thing you do notice, so Mirror, Marvin's awesome iRacing app, which is basically doing telemetry force feedback. One thing you notice with that is it magnifies the physics issues of iRacing. Makes force feedback great, but it makes it very clear where the physics issues are. So even with telemetry force feedback, ultimately, you're still basically going to end up getting to the point that the actual physics of the simulator are wonky, and that's what needs improving the most. So, you know, but that is something that I think that's where DD wheels need to go. The main thing is, it's just got utterly absurd. And I think part of this, I blame people like myself, YouTubers and influencers, to be honest, because the fact is, it's part of the industry of YouTubing is you get equipment, and then obviously the equipment's got all its slight differences in the marketing and stuff, and then the YouTuber breaks it down and reviews it, and then they're going to, in their video, say, well, this is how it's different from this wheel, this is how it's slightly better or worse than this other thing, and then that creates a subtext of, all these differences are so important, guys, you need to pay attention, don't make the wrong purchase. And then that creates this sort of religious hyperfixation on these little details that maybe are not the most important details to be focusing on. That's the elephant in the room. I'm looking forward to the comments on this one. Gamer Muscle said, the DD wheels are all the same. Gamer Muscle can't tell the difference between the equipment. Gamer Muscle can't drive, and that's why he thinks iRacing's bad to the limit. Oh, it's going to be great. But thanks for watching this. Really appreciate it. Till the next one, happy tea drinking. Take care. Goodbye.